Streamers. Those guys that wake up, turn on their computers, and play video games all day in front of hundreds or even thousands of people. They're usually pretty good. In fact, many of them are so good that they get countless of accusations on the regular. And are these accusations true, or are they just rumors? I just had to find out. First, I needed to take a deep dive and dig out as much of the alleged evidence as I could. I even went to my community asking them for any information or clips of these supposedly obvious cheats, but nobody could come up with any real examples. I spent about an hour researching, trying to find anything. As scarce as that information was, this is what I found. It's weird how he will holding down the shoot button and then down the person is shooting, and then his gun instantly flicks to another person behind a wall or around a corner, and he never stops shooting. It's clearly an aimbot being used, sorry to say. This activity is very well documented. Now that when you achieve a certain number of followers on Twitch or YouTube, you get put on a whitelist so that you won't get banned. This is one of the many Reddit threads with countless Reddit comments accusing Timmy of using aimbots or other cheats, with plenty of clips of him flicking towards targets or onto targets that are just out of his field of view. Timmy just plays with a very high sensitivity, as we did cover on this channel when I tested it out, and it looks inhuman, but that's it. If he was aimbotting, he'd be flicking right on a target, not just towards them or where they might be. And players with very high sensitivities have a lot of these moments. It's because they're resetting their aim or making flicks. It's that simple. You'll see more of it as we continue with the video. I recommend watching all of Aceu's videos in slow motion. It is very telling. In case people didn't know, you can program aimbot to miss shots, specific shots even. Anyways, wall hacks, I believe, are his bread and butter. He uses his peripheral vision to not make it look obvious, then he charts a course straight to a player. Aceu is another streamer who kind of is on the other side of the same coin as Timmy, with flashy movement, good mechanics, but most importantly, a very smart playstyle. The average person in the comments seems to forget that Aceu is a successful esports professional with years of experience in tactical shooters before Apex even came out, and he's beyond LAN proven at this point. I found another thread discussing this specifically under the title Aceu Aim Lock with this quick clip. Now, hold on there before you raise your pitchforks about this blatant evidence. Aceu is and was on a very high sensitivity, and this was really just a really quick pre-flick to where he expected the enemy to be. He does these all the time, and this wasn't any exception, though in this case it does look a little bit weird. Anyone who has played from time to time will have many clips like this. The difference is how consistent they are and how often they get them. Aceu actually recently went on record and said that it had been reported a total of 721 times. The thing that does it for me is a slowdown and snapping back when she goes off target. Controller aim assist would make a little bit more sense. I'm watching out for streamers cheating in Apex Legends, and it's getting bad in the PC multiplayer, and I came across Lulu. We've also seen a decent amount of comments and complaints about Lulu Lovely for whatever reason over the years, completely unable to cope with her just being good at the game and instead reaching to find evidence of her using cheats. This clip compilation just shows pretty solid aim and game sense, and there wasn't really anything that looked unnatural in these clips at all. I can't even try to explain any specific moments. This is just solid gameplay. There's also been plenty of accusations being thrown around about highly skilled controller players with good recoil control, such as Skin Burton, whose recoil control and aim assist mastery makes him look like a human aimbot. But we have seen him pull off beams just like these on LAN, on other people's setups, and even on mouse and keyboard, because this guy was highly ranked in Counter-Strike, which is mouse and keyboard, so it's safe to say that he's clean by now. Honestly, a lot of these comments, they just feel like copium. People who cannot understand that someone is just good at video games. They see someone doing something solid and it just shatters their reality. But to a certain degree, I can see where the accusations are coming from. The ones I showed you were completely just out of touch with reality, but there have been countless of players in the streaming space, not only Apex, that have gotten busted for using all kinds of cheats since the dawn of live streaming. What? The Apex community does seem to have a pretty high concentration of cheaters in their community, and of course the streaming and professional community is no exception. Let's start off with Studzy. Studzy was a tier 2 Apex pro playing in the NA scene, most notably under Impact Gaming with Games and Mooman. And you want to keep Mooman in mind because he's a pivotal piece in the story. At the time, Studzy had started to play a lot with Faide and gaining a lot of notoriety when Mooman noticed something weird about his teammates' shots. Eventually, Mooman decided to take it to Studzy's VODs and started looking looking for his point of view, only to notice that what looked suspect wasn't a spectator bug. Studsy's bullets were curving. This is usually known as a silent aimbot that helps you hit shots without locking on to make it a little bit less obvious that you're using digital assistance. Moomin shared his findings on the Apex Twitter and it instantly took off. It was shared to Reddit and Studsy reacted in a interesting way. He instantly owned up to it on Twitter, called it an experiment, and said that he wasn't alone in cheating. Studsy went as far as to claim that there were plenty of other cheaters in the scene and that he would procure evidence but failed to do so and eventually ended up deleting all of his tweets dating 4 years back before seemingly deleting his Twitter account and disappearing from the face of the earth. It's such a bizarre situation and I would love to provide you guys with the twit longer, but he went scorched earth, so the best evidence I can give you is the history of the responses to his tweets. Moving on, we have another alleged cheater across the pond in the EU scene. This is Yura. Yura had a lot of sus moments popping off on players in pubs, in ranked, and most importantly, scrims and tournaments. And the whole professional scene was suspecting that his skill was just too good to be true. Hashtag ban Yura was floating around on Twitter at the time, with several clips surfacing of things that looked very weird. And I admittedly bandwagoned on and chimed in with my takes, though when I look back at it today, I'm not so sure whether my takes were that on point, because I had drank the Yura Kool-Aid and was convinced that he was cheating. Outside looking in these cheater situations, there's always an insane amount of bandwagoning and confirmation bias. If the internet says someone is cheating, surely they must be cheating, and everything they do is evidence of them cheating. To everyone's delight, Respawn eventually ended up banning Yura, following by them unbanning him shortly later after what we assumed was some sort of appeal, only to ban him again. Russian Apex pros defended Yura, claiming he was legit, and the whole ordeal turned into a massive PR nightmare for Respawn, who ended up going on record to comment about it. Yura had gone to extreme lengths, even playing out of a net cafe to prove that he was legit, and he was pleading with Respawn to even fly him out and let him play in front of them, just to prove that he wasn't cheating, that it was all skill in person. This request was denied for obvious reasons, and Yura remained banned. We don't actually know whether Yura was cheating or not, but Respawn said that they had evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that he was cheating and that they weren't going off circumstantial evidence. And it is good that they're careful about this stuff, because getting banned from a game can ruin professional players or streamers' entire careers. For obvious reasons, they did not present any evidence, but if I'd get a chance to speculate that there's a small chance Yura wasn't cheating, he could have been caught up in a booster situation. As some of you might know, many pros, especially back then, get paid to play on other people's accounts to make money while playing, because let's face it, you don't really get paid that well to be an Apex pro. And there's a chance that Yura logged into someone else's account and did his thing. This person could have come back to purchase a boost from someone else, who ended up cheating on his account, and then when he was eventually banned, anyone who had made contact in this chain of custody got wiped as well. This has happened before with other players, but as far as I know, there's no direct official link of Yura boosting, so this is all conjecture on my part, and it could have just been cheating as well. There's also been plenty of cheaters trying to make their way into the pro scene to be instantly discovered by other pros. You have to keep in mind that professional players play at an insanely high level and have a good idea of what someone naturally can accomplish within the game. If somebody consistently pulls off stuff that's way beyond professional players' game sense or mechanical skill, that is grounds enough for suspicion. And the way these practice tournaments, also known as scrims, play out has the pros that die continuing to spectate whoever killed them while waiting for the match to end, so they have nothing else to do than notice any little weird movement or odd looking snap that those players pull off. One example of this is Elm0, who was an up and coming pro very early in the Apex NA pro scene. On February 25th, the at the time Team Liquid professional Rogue noticed some suspicious shots on Elm0's stream, and just by looking at this clip you can tell that something looks off with his aim. It's too fast and too smooth to be natural mouse and keyboard input, and the point was proven farther with this clip of the same person warming up his aim in the Kovacs aim trainer, suddenly being leagues off as skilled as shown in the Apex clip. After all the allegations, the player went dark and deactivated his Twitter account without ever releasing a statement, but it's fair to say he probably was cheating. And then who can forget, hold up, that's me. You're probably wondering, how did I end up in this situation? Spoiler alert, I wasn't and I'm not a cheater, but Respawn were convinced after this clip got viral. chat, don't clip that. And this is still one of the most viewed Apex Legends clips to this day. I was banned for about 30 minutes before the ban eventually got reverted and I got to play again. Many players still doubt whether this was legit to this day, and I guess you can't be surprised since Respawn themselves didn't understand what happened. So for you doubting, hitting a vault over an object will reset your aim upwards. I just happened to still be shooting like a noob when I hit the vault button, which reset my aim upwards and hit the other guy for a little damage, which just happened to be enough to kill him. Still, I figured it would be a worthy mention. But cheats are incredibly hard to prove. Sure, some hacks give you absolutely ridiculous advantages, which I have covered in a different video, and some hacks turn your aim into an absolute laser at varying ranges. But there are cheats like Studzy Silent Aimbot that is a lot harder to prove if you don't pay attention, and wall hacks and map cheats which give you information on all the players on the map or around you. But those are a lot harder to prove because the player in question could just have good game sets. This brings us to Few FPS. For those unaware, Few is currently the #1 kill leader worldwide, meaning that he has the most kills on his account in the world, and he is an EA partner. Few is an alleged wall hacker cheater with lots of evidence procured against him. Most notably, this footage from Jake Lucky that gained a lot of traction on the Apex Twitter. You can see him pre-aiming in certain spots, clearly showing a level of game sense that is otherwise inhuman, even backing off when he notices the enemy team moving up towards him, and then pre-aiming where they are coming from. After this gained so much traction, Respawn finally decided to ban him on the 4th of March this year, but then unbanned him around the 15th or the 16th, so 2 days later. He is still unbanned to this day, and recently tweeted that he was invited to compete in the LGS Pro League, so I guess this is a developing story. Video game cheating is an incredibly lucrative market. It's super easy to just Google anything and get started for a few dollars a day, and the benefits you get from this digital assistance might be enough to make or break an aspiring pro player or content creator trying to make it into the space. The problem with these public cheats is that since they're public, they always will get flagged, and everyone who used them just get banned. That being said, there's also private cheats made by private cheat developers with a limited amount of players in existence abusing them, theoretically costing thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars a month for a license. We know this exists because of the Kukli situation in Counter-Strike. Kukli was approached by a private cheat developer and got to try to cheat for a week, and swears that he didn't use it in any tournament, but received a VAC ban and his entire career was over. Kukli was not caught by VAC, but instead from ESEA, an independent ranked and league system who told VAC how to catch these specific cheaters. But he was also outed by another cheater on HLTV who had gotten VAC banned himself and made a list of players that he believed to be using the same type of aim assist cheat with 95% certainty. Though I would take anything that someone installs a cheat would say with a grain of salt. There are hundreds of pros in the ALGS Pro League alone, and to assume that there aren't any cheaters among them is being naive, especially when you keep in mind the amount of players in Predator that are either closet cheating or just straight up aimbotting. So it's fair to assume that some people aren't legit. But let's turn our attention back to what prompted this video. There might be some professional players cheating, but the odds of streamers cheating is very low, because if any streamer does cheat, they already have a lot of eyes on their content, and one of the hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of people might notice that something is afoot. And yes, we've had a lot of cheaters get exposed in the space, but that's because anyone who gains notoriety while cheating instantly gets called out. And they get called out because it's incredibly hard to hide that you're using any sort of cheat if you're streaming your point of view for hours a day. If big streamers cheat, they're hiding it incredibly well, or are much smaller streamers in the 1 to 5 viewer range who just don't have enough people paying attention to notice that something is off. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like and the subscribe, and if you want to see more content, let me know in the comments. Check out the video on the screen, and I'll see you all tomorrow.